There's a HaShulchan here. There's similar with Zion, Sif, Yud Ches, Yud Tes. This is supplemental day 239, I believe, of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. Yes, it is. Yud Ches. There's one who wants to bring evidence for the general principle of Tata Reisa, which the Arukh, of course, is now battling. Meireas Muchladayvim from a lung which is adjacent to the rib cage. La Paiskim Shaisim, according to Baskim, forbidden Sheish Reisa, when there's a flaw, Berea in the lung. I feel Ika Reisa B'dayvim, even there's a flaw in the rib cage as well. K'mosh Kosam Neshama is over there in Sif Ein Tes. Zemitam Tata Reisa. This is the account of Tata Reisa. I guess they use the Reisa and the dolphin not as a something in which to attribute the flaw and deflect the problem away from the lung, but rather as a reason to say double whammy. But to me, I'm astounded. There are many opinions of this. There are those who are machmir even more, even if there's no flaw in the lung, there's no flaw in the rib cage either. Rib cage either. So they're not taste the race, so there are no flaws. Something else altogether. We have to have a question. From where does the sircha come? Imi dofen, imi rea. If it come from the rib cage or from the lung and not from the rib cage. Each time the other issues there will be clarified there. It's not do tataresa, but on the contrary, our evidence in the previous sif is definite evidence. There was a lenient and they attribute the sircha to the rib cage. So they permitted even when there's tataresa, there's also a flaw in the lung. Even in the case of Tatares and the Gemara and Nida, which he brought, where the mikvah was found to be lacking the requisite 40 sa'ah, where Shechazaka Achas Iser, when the chazaka of the river was tovel in that mikvah is lesser. Vashniya Esheis Yisra Chazaka, and the mikvah itself, its chazaka was damaged. It's not a general principle. Because in a parallel case by shchita, we permit a case where the knife is lost, and afterwards is found to be damaged. We didn't check it. Immediately after shchita. We use to break bones immediately after shchita. We permit the shchita. Also, there's a chazak leser. The animal in its lifetime was considered to be assumed to be prohibited. The cheskes of the knife has been damaged because we found a pokem. So mamish kum mikveh is very much like a mikveh. In kol zeh, nevertheless, matir masa. We permit that kind of situation. So even though there's a tata reis, so we permit it. The fact that Tesis asks this as a contradiction. The total chalik zem said they have difficulty distinguishing between the cases. We also explain this at length there in Yud. Nevertheless, it's not a universal principle. So how can you say a novel idea on our own account? So the cloud gomer to make this an absolute principle. From the law of one postscape, the Ravid, Shulois cloud time race, so himself doesn't mention the principle of Tata Reis, so Kamosh Kosan said. Your test. The roots of these principles did not initially emerge from the mouths of the great Achronim. Only the checkers themselves, the Shoichtim, Yechmiro, they were Machinos. So the Cloud Gomer, they made this an absolute principle. Like we brought down yesterday from the Taz, Shekos said, Shemokam, Shekos Shemikan Lomdu Abaitkim. Here the boat can learn la cheap b'chol makom sheyesh nei lekusos to say it's straight from any place to the two floors. Ein sham. Chacham Yisrael shabbos don't lo mich biyadim. Chacham Yisrael that generation not protest. They should lawyer have some money sheyisrael because there's no loss to the money of Am Yisrael. K'yadur sheb'doros kodmim matim yukatz v'Yisrael. There were very few Jewish butchers, Jewish sheichtim. Vayu lochim mikatzvei goyim ksheisa kshera. Really? They would take from non-Jewish butchers when it's kosher? I guess the sheichtim were Jews and the butchers were non-Jews and was kosher. Ksheloisa kshera lochim basar, and when it wasn't kosher, they wouldn't take meat. Chen lo kosher chacham yisrael sheb osa ador. What is that? Therefore, chacham were not concerned a loss of Jewish money, since I guess everything went through non-Jewish butchers back then. It's a very big chiddush. It's a very interesting socio-historical statement that the butchers are mostly non-Jews. Okay. That's what it says. Again, but you're looking at Katzvi going, which is a kshir, you're looking at Basar. If they weren't concerned, he says also today, I guess, you go to in Seattle, discussing Shabbos, there's no kosher butcher. There's a kosher section, Kroger's, right? And I'm sure many cities are like that nowadays because the age of kosher butchers, where they were busted kosher, quote unquote, kosher butchers, and by the dozens, they don't exist anymore. So I guess that this actually is the case. We're going to tell you, but there are very few Jews. The Jews take the kosher meat from the non-Jewish stores, sell to the Jews. Ancient times, that was most of these cases were like that. Also in ancient times, meat was cheap. It wasn't much loss. As time went by, since they instituted this chumrah, the Gedolim went along with them. Most of the Gedolim were in the lands of Germany and Poland. Wasn't much loss for Jews with these chumras. Also there, it's the same. It's the same way today. The There's only very little difference in the price of meat between kosher and treif. It's not that way now. In our country, there are many Jews, and the butchers are Jews. They've said Rab Mode, and there's a substantial loss. And one animal you can have a loss of 100 gold coins or more. Certainly should not make Tataresa a general principle in our day and age. The truth is, Shochem do not have the capacity to judge these matters. Therefore, any Tataresa, anytime you have a double whammy, you have to ask a Shiloh. And the Rav who sits on the throne of Psak, who mumche, and is an expert, who bucky, and adept, bara, in Paskim, and from Shas Poskim, which is very few rabbis, to be honest, today in these matters of Isser Heter. Very few rabbis actually study this at all. But so I'm not sure this is relevant today to the masses. But once upon a time, probably 50 is, not 50, 75, 80 years ago, this was applicable. Vishko Pel Sichlo, and he will weigh with the the scales of his judgment, the scales of his intellect, in Hatim Lesor, to permit or to forbid could be in resos based on the issues raised by the flaws, not based on an automatic application of a double whammy. See, and the books of the Bokim were made from this great general principles and many details. And they divided them up. As they say, this is a major flaw. This is a minor flaw. Zoom says this is a medium flaw. Not sure about that. Okay, I'm still not finished with this, but that's it for today. I believe. Check you up on that. Yes.